Yeah. Yeah.
Platform engineering, just a buzzword for large enterprises, right? But what if small organizations can benefit just as much? That's what we're going to tackle today. Welcome to the What the FlowFactor podcast, where we challenge DevOps statements with real-world experience. Joining me, as always, is our founder Kilian, and today we're joined by Matt, a DevOps consultant who has seen both large and small companies tackle platform engineering. Matt, welcome in our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome in Belgium.
Very nice being here.
Before we dive in, can you maybe briefly introduce yourself?
Of course. So my name is Matt. I'm an engineer working in this domain for more than a decade. Before the DevOps were really used so often, it was the focus back then was on automation, on CI/CD, these days we see even more pressure on platform engineering, which seems to be a part of the bigger picture that DevOps is. But yeah, this is basically what I'm doing for, how many? 13, 14 years now.
Okay, so you're the right person for the job today.
Oh yeah, I feel so.
Okay, so let's dive into the topic of the day. Platform engineering is often seen as something only big companies need or do, but is that really true? You both have worked in various teams. When you hear that statement, what's your first reaction?
My first reaction is no, it's not only for large enterprises. We have some customers in our managed service which are a little bit smaller, not the large enterprises. And they are also using platform engineering. They use a platform that is built for them. And it's not that this is only valuable for a large company.
Yeah, exactly. The platform as a concept has been on the market for decades. But, for so many years, it was also a very expensive concept because you need to invest for the enterprise licensing, for the engineering costs that would be higher because the companies that provide you the licensing also require very special experience. So these days, when we can use open source tooling and build a platform on our own, then we can actually decrease the cost of only the engineering, and try to match that with our needs.
Yeah, and I guess the cost of building the platform also lowers because of the open source mindset. That there are more Terraform modules available on the internet. There are more Ansible scripts available that can help you build the platform. So if you have a small enterprise or a small company and you want to start building a platform, your engineers can start off from basic scripts that are available online.
Exactly. And long ago, you had to first the entry level were very high because you need to put a big investment into the platform because that was sold as a huge thing. Now, if you just starting as a startup, you don't have to set up the whole infrastructure on your own. You can actually deploy services in your containers in some managed services.
Yep.
Like Elastic Container Service. You don't even have to manage that. You only care about your application. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess the thing about the licensed software is also that the entry level, as you stated, is very high there because the learning curve is very steep.
Yes.
A junior engineer that has to start working with a very complex application server or stuff like that, or a very complex other middleware like a service bus that we had years ago.
Yeah.
We still have it, but we are trying to work around that today.
Yes.
But like service buses was a more complex stuff to set up and to manage. The courses and trainings to get to the level of knowledge you need to operate that in a large company, there is a high cost coupled to that. what we notice is that with open source, the information is freely available. Lots of tutorials, lots of videos online are just available on YouTube. You can just watch it and start learning while you are following a tutorial. And that entry level for a junior engineer is way lower than it used to be. So I guess that is also a difference in cost. If you can hire a junior engineer compared to a senior engineer that has all the knowledge, all the baggage, with all the certificates from the more expensive licensed software, it can be a high step to take.
Yes, and I would add one more thing. When we start something, we don't have to pre-plan for everything, every situation.
True.
At the beginning, for a small company, we plan for speed, and we can improve on the way we go.
Yeah.
And that is exactly, the one of the clients I had. It was a new business unit set up within the 2E group. So that was an independent startup initiative, separate from anything else that runs in the organization. There were one team that started at the beginning. Later, that has expanded to 2 teams. So that was the place that I came over. I was the second DevOps added on top of that team. As the project progressed, there were more things happening. We see that there are some overlaps between these 2 teams. So we just naturally started an initiative. Hey, as I was dedicated to one team and the other DevOps engineer dedicated for the other team, we need to have a cadence on where we can see what we can make unified across those 2 teams. Yeah. So we could eventually save not only our time but also the effort that we put into developing CI/CD pipelines, for example, because we could reuse them. And we started with AWS ECS. Later we planned to set up AWS EKS, which is a bigger thing. But since that was a small team, we had that opportunity to start small and grow rather than sit and plan for too long and then never get there.
Yeah, I guess that's a pitfall which is usually not spotted, but just stepped into it. We see a lot of starting teams that want to build for a perfect platform.
Yeah.
The perfect platform doesn't exist, and also it will depend on what time do you need that top platform. Do you need it in 1 year or in 5 years? In 5 years, technology will be different. So it's better to move gradually and increase your flexibility within that team and within the platform and build more technology into it than trying to make sure you have everything on board from day one. Because first of all, it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, if you succeed, it will be very expensive and you will be very late to the table because you will be building for 2 or 3 years for that perfect platform, and then you release it. By that time, the developer doesn't need that platform anymore.
And that's the advantage that small companies has over big enterprises.
Yeah.
Big enterprises have a budget and have time, can wait until this is ready. But also we need to have in mind that big enterprise needs to follow security compliance, some internal guardrails and so on. Small organization doesn't have that bureaucracy on top of everything. They can just start doing it, start small.
Yeah.
Even if it's 2 teams with 2 DevOps engineers, they can, platform engineering is a concept. You don't have to have a dedicated team. You can have 2 DevOps engineers that dedicate some part of their time for platform engineering initiative.
Yeah.
So it's more of a you don't need a platform team, I would say. What you do need is platform thinking.
Yeah, that's a good one. Indeed, I think we described it as platform engineering is not too big for a small company. And that's true, because platform engineering as a concept, it's a way of working. While a platform team might be too big for a small company. Because why do you need 5-6 engineers building a platform if there is only going to land 1 or 2 applications on top of it? It can expand later on. But most of the time in a startup phase, there is only one goal. It's like Spotify, Netflix, they started with one goal. Spotify streaming music, Netflix streaming video. They didn't expand their services that fast. The team grew because it was necessary to keep up with the demand, with the high standards they had to meet. The streaming had to keep going. It had to be secure. Now they have to check if you're in the same household or not with one account. So that kind of stuff, that's features and capabilities that are built into the platform afterwards. They weren't there in the beginning.
Yeah, actually, since you brought up this point, I want to say something because I think it's important, and it will actually confirm what you just stated. The when platform initiative is started, oftentimes the way how it is approached is people try to answer the question how they are going to do the things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, whether they are going to set up Kubernetes. Maybe Kubernetes is not needed at all. Maybe that's not even solving the problem. So platform is not about what tools you have. What I think the more important question is why we are doing certain things.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Netflix. So what's their objective? What's the company objective? Why we need that? And then by answering why, we could continue by asking more questions on, finally, when we set the context, how we are going to get there.
Yeah, indeed. You first need to clarify why something is necessary or why you want to deliver a certain service. And based on that, you can drill down to how you're going to do it and what tooling you are going to use for that, but not the other way around. Not start from the tooling and then start building something which no one really needs.
Exactly. So getting back to what you said, it's not about perfect platform. It's about helping your developers to speed up the delivery and get faster feedback.
Yeah. Faster feedback, and in the end, faster to production, because if they get faster feedback, they will increase velocity.
Yes.
They will be able to release their features way faster and more qualitative into production. Because what we often see is that, and I think that is one of the advantages of platforms and platform engineering, you can repeat what you've done in a dev environment, test environment, through to production environment. It can be the same setup, maybe slightly different in sizing, but the entire setup can be the same because it's automated.
Yeah.
The platform engineering team, they automated all the stuff. And because of the automation, it's repeatable, it's scalable, and a developer knows if my production works in development, it will work in production.
Yes.
Or my application works in development.
Yes, absolutely. So we have to look at our delivery lifecycle as a whole, because if the dev environment or the test environment is down, then your delivery lifecycle is broken and you cannot ship to production.
Indeed. Yeah, and that is also something that I've heard a lot in customers. Yeah, we can only see this issue in production because that's the only environment with live data and live users on the system. While for me, it's a little bit off topic, of course. It's not completely platform engineering, this part, but you can start testing with production-like load.
Yeah.
on an acceptance or a test environment.
Well, that would be perfect. So with all this, shift left.
Yeah.
It started with shifting left the testing closer to when the application is actually designed and then developed.
Yeah.
But what you mentioned is called performance shifts left.
Yeah.
So you could start doing the performance testing before you even get to production.
Yeah.
That's more advanced, I would say, but it is actually ideal if you could think of these things already when you are designing your product.
Yeah.
And especially, these days, like if we look, over the last 2 decades, Agile and the DevOps movement, what it did, Agile has shortened the develop phase.
Yeah.
The DevOps movement has shortened the release phase, but the design phase has now is further extended. So now we are in the situation that we have all these AI copilots, and again the development phase can be shortened and made quicker.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really help you with the design overall. So this is really goes back that having about the proper platform thinking in mind. So like when you design the application, you already think beforehand about these challenges that you may face in the future that could be related to performance as well.
Yeah.
And platform team can help you setting up the proper environment that you could easily play with. So for example, one of the challenges now to give the use case, the development teams oftentimes they don't have access to fine-tune their production environment, but they should own their test environment so that they could easily play with and tune with the specifics, with the configuration of that environment, to see in which configuration their application works the most efficiently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. A developer needs to be able to play with settings if they want to. If they don't want to, it's not an issue. You have your platform team that can assist you with that. But on the other hand, they need to be able to have a kind of a playground, because otherwise they are limited. They are very limited within the boundaries of the platform that is built at that time. But I guess that's a little bit more advanced for a small company.
Well, but that's the beauty, Now having all this open source technology, it's doable. You don't really need to hire a big consultancy firm that will come up and do these things for you.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a consultant, and I've been doing projects. When I joined the company, the project was set up by McKinsey, for example, and that I find that this is often typical, that the big organization hire big consultancy to spin up the project, and then they want to take it from them and release, of course, the big provider, because they are expensive. So they hire freelancers like me. Yep. So I've been several times in a project when I was taking the technology over from McKinsey, from Deloitte, and I lost my point. But I wanted to say that I've seen this happening, that the project is started by the big consultancy, but it doesn't have to. So in the past, it was like the big enterprise have enough money to hire big consultancy, but a small organization, what they can do, they can hire smaller consultancy or freelancers that they can use open source and can help them get to the objective that they have set for their platform thinking.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I guess because most of the time the large consultancy firms, they come with some kind of a pre-built, pre-thought book,
Yes.
because it's always an encyclopedia they bring. No one reads it. There is an entire set of rules in there. But in the end, it's more the flexibility we need.
Mm-hmm.
In platform engineering, in DevOps, we need flexibility, we need adaptability and agility. While, platform engineering is to me a subset of DevOps, and DevOps a subset of Agile, the Agile movement. So the agility is what is always key. We need to be agile.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case if you hire a very large consultancy firm that is bringing you a large set of rules and boundaries, because they set boundaries which are very hard. They are not flexible. You cannot bend them a little bit. While if you talk to a freelancer who's more flexible because he worked in several projects before that and has all that experience, bringing it in. And I guess, like you said, a freelancer is most of the time a little bit cheaper than a big consultancy firm and can assist smaller companies for sure in their journey to start building a platform.
Exactly. And, there is one more concept I think is worth mentioning that I've been thinking about recently. It is productization versus productionization from production.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes companies think about platform, that's something that is production ready, that will suffice your production needs. And they left behind this concept of making it as a product.
Yeah.
So productionization is needed indeed, but it's not sufficient. You need to have product thinking in mind. So what are really the needs within your organization?
Yeah.
And despite the size of it, whether it's small or big, your product will be different in small org than it is in a bigger organization.
Yep.
And this is I would say another disadvantage, of hiring some big consultancy that will replicate what they have done for a different customer, because their use case were completely different.
Yeah.
And this is really, you need to know your business. You need to know your needs. What are the developer needs? Because platform is end of the day, you are serving it for the internal customer.
Yeah.
And you need to find what are the needs, what are the goals, what the outcomes you are expecting to have. For example, shorten the delivery life cycle, improve the flow, limit cognitive load that developers has.
Yeah.
On so many tooling being available, because that's a disadvantage also, that there are so many of them in this open source ocean, that you need to know what to choose.
Yeah.
And for that, experience is something that helps for sure.
Yeah, I guess the experience of other projects will help you, because you've seen a working set of tools together in a platform, so you can indeed replicate it, but you can bring some best practices. This is one thing I've always been thinking about of best practices. Best practices in banking sector
Mm-hmm.
are not the same as in automotive sector. So, and that's a lot to do with what you were just saying, like the use case for every sector is different. So you cannot just replicate, you're a big automotive player and we have a big bank over here, I will just do the same. It's not going to work smoothly, because the way of their workings is completely different. The goal of the company is completely different. So I guess that's completely true, that you need to look at the platform as a product, and you need to tune it on what the need of that company and the developers working for that company is.
Exactly. So that would, I think, help shaping the way of not working towards the best platform possible, but rather finding the best solution that addresses current needs.
Yeah.
And improving on the way, inspect and adapt.
Yeah, indeed, which is an important aspect in Agile and DevOps.
Maybe a small last question, because our time is almost up. But Matt, you talked about the smaller startup where you work together with another DevOps engineer to start the platform thinking. How can you approach it with a smaller engineering team? Do you have some concrete example or advice for smaller organizations?
Well, so these are the basic engineering rules, I would say, that you could help us. First of all, don't overcomplicate. Complex solutions are also having a big cognitive load that is related to maintaining them. And if you have smaller team, you have smaller needs, and for that, you should. This is something you should focus on. So like if for that particular client, we just wanted to prove the value that this application is gonna work. So we wanted to make it deployed, and AWS Elastic Container Service were suffice our needs. So we didn't need Kubernetes at that point in time. But since we plan to scale up, at some point ECS becoming more expensive. So you can do the math and see that from certain point, we're gonna have to put more on engineering.
Yeah.
But the cost of running it will drop. And also we will get a lot of other gains like scalability and reliability. So we started planning in our roadmap, and we planned to set up dedicated managed Kubernetes cluster. Start small and grow.
That's something we hear quite often, I think, across all the podcasts. It's like start small and listen to your developers. I think that are key.
And
key
also
aspects.
like the phrase, just keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it, because that's something we see in mainly the bigger companies. They have overly complex and overly engineered environments, where I guess the smaller companies, they start fresh, so they can keep it simple. They can start with a not too complicated setup.
That's another great advice, I think. Our time is up. This went very fluently. I was once again the third wheel in this episode, but I love it. How did you feel being here, Matt?
Oh, excellent. Actually, I love being in Belgium, first of all. I haven't been here for like 5 years. So it's very good to get back to, old places. And thank you for the invitation, because that was actually the reason for me to come. So, I have a great memories, and I'm really thankful for inviting me for this podcast.
No, that's no problem. I think you've shared some great opinions on platform engineering, and I think that triggered us to get you on our podcast. So thank you for being here. I think it will be another great episode. And for everybody listening, see you next time.
Yeah.